exempt for the nonprofit organization. Also now, all of your AME churches, CME churches, and your United Methodists, your big black churches, mainly your AME. Those churches, they cannot open the doors without the American flag with the gold strip down the side. I've always wondered, why we sit up in church with the American flag with the gold strip in the middle of the damn ghetto? In Mullin, South Carolina, because I grew up at AME. Now, they have this American flag with the gold strip, which is the same one that they have in your courthouses. When you see that American flag, it means it's owned and operated by the New World Order. You see, and they cannot open the doors not unless they have this flag with the gold strip. You understand what I'm saying? That is because, so now what it is but the New World Order means anytime you are under the tax exempt law, you are owned and operated by the New World Order. It's just that the bigger churches are the ones that have to have the American flag with the gold strip. But the smaller churches, even though they don't have it, because there's every nook and cranny, they still qualify for the non-profit organization thing where they can get, the tax exempt. So therefore, you automatically require the New World Order and all of that, apply for that. Now it's interesting because I got a friend that wants to start speaking on the New World Order that just got out of seminary. But the problem is, he's saying he's having a lot of problems because they don't want anything to do with it in the church. Because all the black churches are owned and operated by the New World Order. So they are part of the problem. Inadvertently, even if they don't know it. But somewhere in your bigger upper echelon churches, they know what's going down. So now you can understand why the system, why you can have a group of people that can be ignorant for the last 140 years. Because it's systematically controlled. And this is the reason why in the early 1900s, they went in and closed down a particular church in South Carolina that was dealing with Yoruba, Bodun, Igbo, and each person had their particular religion that they did inside this building. And they closed it down and built them a United Methodist church, or one of these Baptist churches and all, because they can get them under that law, because they got a control over that, as well as your schools, all your black schools have to have the same tax exempt thing, whereas even though the black students just get around it, they technically by law cannot operate this stuff. And you can understand how through education and all this, how people can be fooled all these years. It's because the churches and the schools, but mainly these churches and the black colleges, are all a part of the whole New World Order. And I can't think of the bill, but anybody that's know the tax exempt thing, this is one of the actual bills that's also true. Now, I want to deal with two things. Just going down on the hard copy tip. There's some penicillin. Didn't know all I needed was some doggone lemon extract. Put in the gum like the black woman saying, just take it on down. I went and got some penicillin, but I was up in there and the man said, man, you got some teeth. That's stuff in your head. You need these things pulled. And I was like, well, cool. I said, well, how much? And I mean, now, one of the teeth was actually broken off in the gum. That means he would have to go in and pick it out, which means minor surgery. Now, a tooth takes about, his talk costs anywhere from $60 to $100 a good tooth pull. 60, you got a good deal. You laugh about that. Now, it's interesting, this brother said, well, it was a white man, said, well, I can pull your tooth. That was 4 of them. He said, I can pull all 4 of them for $14 a piece. I said, well, no, hell no, you ain't pulling mine. You ain't pulling no $14 a piece. And then right then, I understood that this is how our people get hooked up into all of this guinea pig disease and all this particular thing that's going on. So now that's one reason for this whole AIDS thing. Now, the first thing is they have already concluded, and I got the note on this, that the black woman is the #1 recipient, and it said it is almost isolated from it's almost isolated from the homosexual community. There's no such thing almost related. Now, not a #1 thing to have it would actually be black people mainly, and also the black woman. But it's interesting because, and this is something that I know this is going to be unpopular for me to say this, but I got to say it. They said that it was up to it was up to like 60%. But if it's up to 60%, the Spirit says add 90. Because you got a lot of people walking around don't even know it. Now, it's interesting because I got to say this because what we do is not only do we get a lot of stuff from research, but we get a lot of things from spiritual people that come in and the Spirit actually tells them particular information. And you're going to have to start utilizing even your own body to give you information on the spiritual level. We'll show you how you can do some channels for yourself, or you're going to have to start utilizing people that you know that can speak to the other side. Now, so they said that it's almost 90%. Now, one of the things that's going to be real unpopular is this, that number one, they're saying now that you've got to get the perm out of your head for the simple fact now, and this is it. So you know that this perm now, based on the black dermatologists, and also that now this stuff based on your skull, that particular, any kind of chemical, don't have to be just no light relaxer. What the hell is that? You see what I'm saying? Any kind of chemical, your skull, your brain has to breathe just like anything that's got to take in oxygen. So your skull is not a hard piece of brick that anything can go on. Your skull has pores. You see? Your skull has pores and all. You think it don't have pores, get into some bone marrow trouble and see with your ass if you don't have somebody to donate that bone marrow, will you be messed up? Check. Now, based on that, your skull has pores, so when you put this stuff on there, there is a particular, it's almost there's a particular, this particular stuff is some green stuff that is now settling on the sister's brain, on the skull, and now it's going to the brain. Now, this stuff is filled with the actual eyes. So now they're going blind because of this particular stuff all to hit the head. You see what I'm saying? We understand the whole thing with Madam C.J. Walker. We don't want to go into the psychology. But now what we're going to say is if you love black, you got to get to these sacred antennas and take that stuff out now. Now, also, they said that it is a complete trigger with everybody in there. Oh, you ain't right if you ain't got this stuff in there. You see what I'm saying? So now we're talking about things that you got to, things based on things that we have to start eliminating just to survive now. You see what I'm saying? Not talking about the spiritual purposes that when we get ready to go into, when you get ready to go through this new Stargate, where these spiritual centers get ready to open, you got to have the double helical structure hair, which is the double DNA hair, which is the only one, which is the most divine hair on the planet, is the double helical structure DNA hair has got to be unleashed, which has got to be at its finest point. So that means you got to get that real black stuff growing again. You see what I'm saying? And I don't care how short it is, as long as it's not suppressed. You see what I'm saying? As long as it's not suppressed. So this particular DNA structure here is the stuff that's going to lift you right off the planet. This is what you're going to go through the Stargate with. So this is some stuff that you also need to deal with also. So now, one thing you got to do is you got to take that out now. Because now it's not just a matter of just fashion anymore. Our consciousness is a matter of health purposes. And also, too, in the final days, a lot of people are going to be getting some spiritual juice, and if you don't get your juice, it's because you have that particular crown chakra set down. Now, your whole Christian mythology is based on the lamb. And the lamb is what? Lamb's wool, which is the crown chakra, which you see, which is the symbolic of an afro when you see the Jesus with the halo on his head. This whole complex of your whole crown chakra, spiritually, when the spiritual energy rises up, is based on the end result is the crown chakra. So if the end result is the top of the tree of life, and doggone, then we know that in actuality you suppress it and all other things just shut down. So we want to deal with those things also too. Going right along with things that's going on in the news. Now, they're talking about, now this is very key because they're getting ready to unleash some things, because one of the ways that they're getting ready to tell people that they got to lock black people down is because of some, now you got the AIDS thing now, okay. We know that you cooked that up at Fort Detrick, Maryland, and we know that that's a biological warfare. You understand? Otherwise, you wouldn't have ended from the homosexuals, the next person getting it is the black woman. You see what I'm saying? You see, I mean, well, why you didn't get that freaky white woman? She's much more freaky than white, whatever. You see what I'm saying? But all of a sudden, it's going down to the black woman. But you see what I'm saying? But on the other hand, also, too, you know now, because we started changing recently, because the black woman was the last one to sell out. So all of a sudden now she going with the white man after years of the black man going with the white man. She done gave up. We understand the whole psychology behind it, because ain't no brothers out here but still yet. Messing with the beast is a no-no. Now, number one, do you know they got actual books they had out in the turn of the century, and also in the 19th century, the 19th century, in the 1800s on how to eat Negroes. There's actual book. Eat a nigger with basil. Well, now, they didn't tell you they got another one of these guys they doing the same time with the OJ thing. They only aired it one or two nights on TV up in New York. Got a cracker, ran an ad in the paper. I'm getting back to the AIDS thing, but I don't want to forget this. This cracker runs an ad in the paper. You know how it is. He's got his ads now. White man looking for sexy black woman, and now he got a line out the damn door. You know, because everybody wants them a white man or a white woman now. So he got a line out the door. He get these doggone sisters home, knock them in the head, and eat them. They busted this cracker house. This cracker got bones on top of the stove and pots. They didn't tell you about this new cracker. You see. Now they come to find out that's an archetype that they always been doing. They used to do millions of those things in slavery. So now all of a sudden these archetypes, what happened is to recorrect history, every now and then these crackers supposed to be so civilized, those things will come through. You have a Jeffrey Dahmer and you got this new guy. Now going to the same, you see, please. Now, okay, you got this monkey. Now he just did this new monkey that killed out hundreds of Africans and thousands of Africans and died from this thing. Okay, now the next thing they know, they're testing it at Fort Detrick, Maryland. Now wait a minute, hold on. Wasn't that the same place that you cooked up the AIDS? Now all of a sudden Fort Detrick, Maryland is back into this thing where they tested it. But it's interesting because one of the monkeys got out, but it didn't kill no white people. But yet it killed 1,000 black people in Africa. Oh, okay, now that's one of the ethnic warfare diseases that you got cooking up. You see, you know the monkeys and the white rats is nothing but the guinea pigs. Ain't got nothing to do with that. One of the monkeys got out and no white people died. But yet all the black people, 1,000 black people done died inside here because of this thing. With the greatest immune system in the world. On a continent that's conducive for the immune system because it's not outside of the doggone habitat. Whereas now we know that they got over 80 million black people around the world. We don't know how long it's going to take before they get over here. Now wait a minute now. Here it is, you the disease, and every place after sacred is deadly diseases and stuff. Not not unless you saying that you done dropped them in rainforests around the world to kill out the indigenous people. Check? Yeah. So now we know that we are right in the middle of this particular New World Order. A lot of things. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of March, because they say you got 100 days before they got to establish their new revolution, new changes. All of a sudden, in the middle of March, they got a movie coming out in the middle of March. On the diseases with Dustin Hoffman and an all-star cast of a monkey getting out some place. Huh? Outbreak, a monkey getting out and everything in pandemonium. They put it all in the doggone movie. See what I'm saying? All this stuff is countdown to the New World Order. Now, the next thing is this. You know that they're getting ready to do this whole crime thing, so now what's the first thing they did? They now have declared the gangs are the #1 enemies, with the public enemy #1 by the FBI. That means once they made it public enemy #1 by the FBI, that means that all, you see, a gang, the only thing that constitutes a gang is 4 or 5 Negroes congregating on a damn corner. That's right. You see what I'm saying? So who are they saying #1 enemies? They're saying anybody that's black. You see what I'm saying? That's not palatable to the marketplace and respectable to the government is public enemy #1. Now we got new reports that the whole gang things from the mid-1980s up was all organized inside white. That's right. That's right. Now here's some people that's organized in every corner. They got Crips and Bloods down in Mullins, South Carolina, population 6,000. Yet we can't even come together with PhDs and open up a damn candy store. Yet every person got a gold tooth on is organized. That ought to let you know that the government organized all of that. They're more organized ever. They're organized systematically across the country. Who do you think did that? Who do you think funded the operation? How do you think they got all this money and all the dope? It was all organized by the government to start a crime epidemic and a crime hysteria. That's right. That eventually the white people will say, get rid of the Negro. All a part of this particular scheme is going on. And now they've already declared, what, a month ago, public enemy #1. The government did a month ago. So now that means that anybody congregating in a crowd unlawfully, and unlawfully just means lottery. Just in the wrong place at the right time for the crowd. Okay, now check it out, because I'm getting ready to, okay, I'm setting you up, but I'm getting ready to show you now, this is not just a bunch of things that get ready to go down. Or just say, well, oh, so those things are new. No, I'm getting ready to show you how they get ready to do this thing in a few days, in a few months. We're right in the middle of this thing. Because they talking about having you in the concentration camp by June. Yeah. Now, shake it up, let it alone. Now, #1, we deal with some other things. #1, we come to find out that Richard Pryor, when Richard Pryor got burned up in 1980, remember that? Yeah. Went to the hospital. They gave the brother a lobotomy. Oh, that's why right after that he ain't never been funny since. Yeah. Remember now, this brother, I remember him in 1979. He came on Johnny Carson, and the brother was sitting in the chair. He was so funny. But remember now, they had to get the Negro because the nigga had the whole TV show where he was dropping all the science in his TV show. The reason why they took it off, he was getting too black. You see? He was dropping all the science, and next thing you know, this brother was so funny. He did that one, he did one lecture, the one with the White Album. He did it in 79. Got run up in 1980, and when he came out after that, the next thing you know, he and little white people moving the toy and stuff. He did live on the Sunset Strip, and he would have on the red suit. He was so corny, and it was just ridiculous. You see what I'm saying? Because he had, they gave him a lobotomy. And then the next thing you know, now all this crazy stuff going down, and the nigga can't even walk, I believe. Last time, Vanessa Williams said they did the last movie he did with Gene Wilder was a corny movie. Last movie he did, she said the man was in pain 24 hours on the set. She said they had to work hard just to get a movie that would normally take 2 months to wrap up. They had to do 4 months just to, because he was so much in pain. We just dealing with things, we just dealing with the hard copy. Now the white people now, they know that in actuality, that there's certain things that's rejected, and when I get further down, I'll show you some things. There's a lot of organs are being rejected and all this kind of things. The white people know now that based on genetic engineering, now we've already gone through the science of this, but some people want further detail. We'll deal with that in question and answer. Based on genetic engineering, they know that their particular makeup and the pig makeup is the same. So now they're getting ready to get organs from pigs, for certain gene organs from pigs. Also, they understand that based on the last year or so, they have now cleaned off the energy from these lower astral planes in which these white people come from in the first place. They're cleaned out that. And the only babies they're having are ones that was on the way before then. And so now this is the reason why they are attacking the abortion clinic, because their birth rate is down almost to like I think it's 1 out of damn 7. You see. So now the white man is going far enough. He is now trying to impregnate apes to have babies, and also cows to have babies. You see, because their birth rate is down totally because the powers that be are wiping them off the planet. And their birth rate is down, 1 out of 7, you see. And now they got all these things. I know they got them in Atlanta. Every news station, every week, they got this infertility specials that's on. And all this stuff about how they're not having babies and what is happening. That's because they're not. And so now the whole abortion thing that they're pumping up is because the government has got to come in and say, you got to stop the abortion. You see, because brothers and sisters is having babies. That was all true, you know. But you got to stop it and all, because now you are killing the little babies that we are having. You see. And that's the key. And they're encouraging them, whatever kind of way they can have the babies, do it, and they're going to even pay them money. You see. That is all because, and so now they're even fertilizing apes and all this type of stuff. Now, we know that things are going down because, like the sister said, things are not as they are. You had us, sleet and snow in Egypt, and in Jerusalem, and different things like that. They ain't never snowed and flooded and stuff like that in the deserts before. That is because now we understand that we are right at the time, and when I get deeper into this mental period that we have just come out of, we'll understand that the mental is equivalent to the revelation. It's the same thing, and we'll go into that in a minute. We just want to do this hard copy right now. Y'all all right? Yeah. All right. Earthquake in Japan. Like I said before, there was an earthquake that was scheduled to hit California again. But what happened was, because Japan bought up all the buildings in California and don't like Negroes, they took on the karma. So therefore, also go look in your book of Revelation on the 6th seal. When the 6th seal is broken, I behold a great earthquake. Now you had the San Francisco and you had the LA one, and a few buildings were damaged, but this thing is not, it's way worse than what they're telling you. Yeah. I mean, they already accounted. If they say 6,000, put in 2 more thousand. Now after they said 6,000, let's say 7 or 8,000, and they haven't even dug up the buildings yet. That's right. You see, they haven't even dug up the buildings yet, so it's thousands of bodies. And this, I mean, have you seen the pictures of this place? We know that the earthquake on a miraculous proportion in this dispensation of time that they're talking about in the book of Revelation is hit. So if it hit in Revelation, it means that you are right in the middle of the Revelation. And based on the Revelation period started in September of this year. And y'all stick with me because a lot of stuff is real key. And all of a sudden, things are going down as scheduled. And one of the particular ones is the 6th seal in the book of Revelation, where there'll be a great earthquake. And boom, this thing happened just like it did. You see, these are things that's actually going on, and all, because, you know, that's a mutant too, that don't love black people and love white people as well. So therefore, you know, so now they got a whole thing, now they got this mutant Asian thing going on, this Asian white man thing going on, where they're trying to even have white people say the Asians are a little bit stronger, so it's to try to cohabitate your race together. You see, with this whole thing, so they're trying to pair them up and hook them up. You see, with the whole race thing, so they can try to save themselves. All kind of things. Now, it's interesting because HBO and all of your CNN and all of your networks that's running the world, they wanted to try to get one last piece of the world that they could not get, and that particular part of that world was Asia, a part in Mongolia, where it's Tibet. So they went in with Korea to send up a satellite about 3 weeks ago, and the satellite blew up.
That's
well,
right.
Think about it, remember that? Well, HBO and the people is the one that gave them the satellite technology. They're going to come on TV saying the Koreans' technology is not that good. They know what it was sending the thing up over there. But what had happened was, it was a spaceship came, a UFO came and blew it up because they didn't want a satellite going up for that last piece of Mongolia that would get all this destruction and this mind thing that they do on the media. So they blew up that particular thing, satellite. Now it's interesting. In 1992 LA riots, they locked up 10,000 black men. Only 1,000 came out. Next thing you know, they got trucks reported going upstate with people in them. Then when somebody questioned about it, they said, oh, well, what it was we wanted to train some black people on how to work, and we wanted to train them, so we had them. Yeah, you're right, you trained them in work camps, concentration camps upstate. Over 9,000 black people. They already took off. You see what I'm saying? But if it don't come on TV, nobody never know nothing. Nobody never complain, because y'all ain't in the conspiracy. Well, let's say they are not. Y'all people up in here, y'all know better. You see. Now, you know the hot lunch program, which is going to be a big disaster. They're going to cut out this hot lunch, and they're going to give it to the states. You see, if it's not remember now, if anybody understands the 60s, it was, the only way you got some stuff was with a federal intervention from the states is what gave you whatever little civil rights you did get. Now all of a sudden they get ready to give it back to the state, you ain't going to have no lunch. You see, now they know doggone well that some of these black children, it's hard enough, especially with welfare, you get $150 a month and stuff, and $150 a month is going to give you about 1 week's worth of groceries. The way we eat and all that. And it's hard enough, sometimes if you didn't have nothing, you could at least depend on 1 meal a day. You see, that's all you need in the first place. So those children could at least go and get the hot lunch thing. They get ready to cut all that out. And so the actual person was some white people were saying, man, that's going to be a total disaster if they cut that lunch program out. Knowing that they give it to the states. Now we talking about the states, especially down south. You talking about states where they're electrocuting Negro right now for looking the wrong way. You see what I'm saying? On other sophisticated terms. Now if you give it to the states and stuff, you know it's going to be over. They're not going to foot the bill. You see what I'm saying? So now, these are some other things that's actually going down. Now, you know these books called The Matrix. Matrix 1, 2, 3, and there's a Matrix 4. Well, in the Matrix 3, in 1991, they said it was a train that derailed. Now we get real funky. They said it was a train that derailed. Going between Miami, Florida to Oregon. It derailed. And they know that this train, they said several trains, that was a route for several trains. And when it derailed, they found a boxcar full of shackles. And they said, well, we just found one. We don't know how many has made it across in the 80s or whatever. We don't know how many is going to go after. Just can you imagine the amount of shackles that they have? So, okay, well, that does not mean it's just shackles for the prison system. Oh, yeah. Well, we'll come to find out 2 weeks ago, one of my friends was working on went down to Valdosta, Georgia. He's from Florida. Went down to Valdosta, Georgia, which is right outside of Florida. And he went down to, he was working on some trains, unloading some trains because they get big money to unload some trains. And during break, you know, he's walking around the train and stuff, and he's in the consciousness. And he walked up on one train and opened it up, and, you know, the boxcar was open, and he looked in there and was full of shackles. But the key to these things is this particular shackles that they got, they was made into the train. So now, what kind of prisons, what you got shackles made into the train? Almost like that slave boat thing. You see what I'm saying? This was 2 weeks ago. So, you know, Newt Gingrich said he's getting ready for his revolution. And these shackles were made into the train. You see what I'm saying? Where they can lock a Negro down. Then it's interesting that now Amtrak just announced they was cutting down, closing down a lot of Amtrak that they didn't need around the country. Now, wait a minute, hold on now, wait a minute. Nobody don't ride the bus no more, so you ain't got two means of transportation. Airport, which is too high. And most people don't like to fly. A lot of older people don't like to fly, so they take the train. So you mean to tell me you're going to cut off this whole parts of Amtrak. Then all of a sudden we get a report from because the Spirit always will give you something. We get a report from a sister in school say, well, it's interesting because in Indiana, they closed down the Amtrak station and they got barbed wire all around and then made it into a miniature concentration camp. Which is right, because the simple fact if you're going to haul Negroes, you can't do it by the trucks and stuff. They might break down and some stuff, you do it through a train system. You see what I'm saying? That's how they did the Japanese in the concentration camps in World War II. And remember when they got the Indians and would ship them to a concentration camp in Florida with Geronimo and all, and they put them on the trains. Now these Amtrak are shutting down. And now what it is, it's a complete system that they can load your behind right on from the holding camp. You see, from the holding camp. So these are some things that's going down, and now this stuff is going right into this particular part. Now, dealing with some stuff, why is it that they will take these black men from the LA riots for 10,000 of them? Because now the new thing is this. You want to go and you want to write down a movie that came out in 1991 called The Harvest. You can go to the video store, just call The Harvest. You're going to find out in actuality that body parts are worth millions of dollars. But they understand that in actuality, most white body parts reject. So if you get a melanated body part, they don't reject. They got almost a damn 99% accuracy rate that they don't reject the body. And if they do reject the body, it's because the mutant body wasn't right. But basically, it's like good as gold. It's like a brain. It's like a diehard. See what I'm saying? It's like them Pirelli type. You see what I'm saying? The real deal stuff. You see what I'm saying? Like that damn Midas boys and stuff. Sure. So now what they dealing with here is, you see, there's parts and stuff, and the melanated parts are very expensive. These are all things that they're doing, and they just can constitute for damn 9,000 missing black people. And we ain't. That's just the ones in LA right. We ain't talking about all the black people that's bums on the street that you don't want to deal with no more. They just end up disappearing. So they snatch up a couple of hundred bums. Nobody never miss it. You see what I'm saying? And that ain't including all the rest of the people. Never miss it. This is what time it is. The stuff that's actually going on. Now, the next thing we know that Graham, who gave you the Graham, Rudman, and Hollins, was it Graham, Rudman, Hollins? Bill from the 1980s, and it messed up a lot of black people, got messed up on this thing, where they cut off a lot of subsidies and stuff. Now he said he's running, he announced he was running in Houston, right? Now they asked him, the first thing he did was at the University of Houston. He was running where he got his, where he announced the campaign. And the first thing he said about this crime thing, he said, when I'm elected, but see, he already know that. He know that this thing is a whole, this some ego stuff. He know that he all down with Newt and all the boys, Bob Dole and all them. So this thing, when I'm elected, this is going on now with Clinton and all of them, because there ain't no party. He said, when I'm elected, he said, about the crime bill, he said, if I got to string barbed wire on every concentration camp in the country, put people in for this crime, we're going to do it. Then all of a sudden, last night, they closed down, they closed down 10 more concentration camps. They closed down one in LA, no, in California somewhere that it's so huge, it's worth like, it's bigger than 3 or 4 small towns. You see. Now, they closed down 5 in 89, when Clinton got it, Bush did, when Clinton got it, he closed down another 5 in 93, now they closed, that's 10 already, now they done closed, they closed down 20, they're gonna close down 10 of them this week. It started last night, closing this big one down in California. So they're gonna have 20-something concentration camps that they're closing down. See what I'm saying? All getting ready for what Newt Gingrich says is his revolution. All right, well, how do you start the revolution? Let's understand this thing. Well, what is going down? How do you start the revolution? Number one, we already know that based on the crime bill that was passed. See, I had to come and I had to give a lot of, even though we're going to go into some other Egyptian mystery science, I had to give a lot of stuff. This is what is happening right now. It needs to get out. Okay, y'all all right? Now, we know about the crime bill that was passed where they got you locking down in concentration camps and everything. Took away your guns because everybody turned them in. Detroit all us. You see, like that, and we went to the Janet Jackson concert. All this. We understand the crime bill was passed, but there is no constitution now. There's no such thing as a constitution, actually. They're talking about this particular House of Representatives 666. All these bills, they actually done passed these bills. They just got to put on this act before you. But when it comes down to it, they can produce the thing. There's no constitution. In the crime bill, once he passed the crime bill, it automatically go into martial law. Even though the martial law might not seem that it's effective, for the simple fact that you haven't done anything for them to impose it, but they can't, in order for them to impose martial law overnight, they can't go and run in the house and pass it. They had to pass it before, so they just crack down. Anytime they pass martial law in Congress, that means in actuality they suspend the Constitution. So there is no more Constitution. You understand what I'm saying? There is no such thing as no Constitution. You crazy for going about it in the first place. The Constitution. See what I'm saying? There is no more Constitution. Now, that means that they are waiting for the big event. Now, the big event goes like this. This is on government proportion. In 1989, black college students used to go to Virginia Beach and Hampton to party. In 1989, they cracked some heads and they stopped it. The next year, the Freaknik in Atlanta had an overwhelming proportion of black students because they didn't go to the Virginia Beach in 1990, fall of 90. Okay, at that particular time, during the Freaknik in April, they had what is the Aggie Fest, which the Aggie Fest was being held in North Carolina A&T. That closed down, the last one was 1990. And in 91, the Freaknik became even bigger. And now the Freaknik is one of the biggest things going. You see. Now, the first year, when they got super big, they blew into town and all the merchants was happy because niggas bought up the liquor store. Bought it out. They were saying we made so many millions of dollars this weekend. So the next week, Bill Campbell and Ed they were out there. Was Bill Campbell in? I think Bill Campbell was in. Bill Campbell and everybody welcomed the Freaknik. B103, everybody welcomed. These people came in and partied and didn't kill nobody or nothing. You see? Didn't vandalize nothing. You see? Partied up a storm. But spiritually, last year the Dogon was doing their SikApe ceremony on April the 23rd of last year. During the same time that they were doing their SikApe ceremony, for some reason, the spirit made sure that the Freaknik on the SikApe ceremony is done in West Mali, Africa, which realigns the planets so we can get out of this condition. Who would ever know? It's one of the most greatest things ever happened in history, that on one horizon, they are having the SikApe ceremony that the Dogon that people have been waiting for the last 60 years. And during the same time that the black students, who is the youth, would be having one, even though it might have been ignorant, they was having their ceremony, the Freaknik, on the Western Hemisphere. You got to look at things on the spiritual things, because things don't happen like that by coincidence. Scared the crack of the death. Then that means that the government had to get on it on miraculous proportion. So all of a sudden, January 1, they got a war on Freaknik. The city of Atlanta just declared war on Freaknik. Now, hell, white people been going down to Fort Lauderdale since the 60s.
Yeah, that's right.
Or the 50s, killing people and every kind of thing. Oh, they was college students. That happened. We just got our little thing going good now. They declared war. No Freaknik. They went to the schools and told them not to have it. The schools said, well, we can't. We got nothing to do with it. We never had Freaknik. That was the students. And it's an outside event. We don't have nothing to do with it. You can't stop those students from getting in a car and coming down someplace. You see, they declared war, and they just welcomed them last year. The city of Atlanta welcomed them. Now, this is interesting because I do believe the first part of January, we got Bill Campbell and a bunch of mayors up in D.C. begging the government to get on top of this baseball thing. Now, Atlanta lost so much money because they don't have Braves baseball. Now, here you mean to tell me, now let's look at the psychology of this. You losing money of Braves baseball. The Falcons are losers. Nobody don't go to their games. They got the lowest attendance ever in the world, in the history of Atlanta Hawks basketball, because they traded Dominique Wilkins, and now nobody don't go to their games. So now your sport ain't bringing in the revenues, and now you don't have baseball. And so it hurt you so bad you had to go to D.C. and beg Bill Clinton in the Congress to tell these crackers to play. And you mean to tell me some Negroes gonna come in your city and gonna buy all your liquor and gonna spend millions of dollars in 2 days? You see, they're proving that the down a bunch of boxes and some sticks the next day. And you mean to tell me you're going to shut that down? When your city is hurting because you ain't got no sports going on? That you got to go and get some scrubs that retired from minor league in 1990? Falling all over the base? Some stuff just don't pan out. But all of a sudden, Atlanta declares war on the freak list. You see. All right. Steve Copley comes to Morehouse College last Tuesday night. Said that he went to the BOULE convention, the Negro BOULE convention in San Francisco. Well, I don't know where they had that. This last summer. And Vernon Jordan was the keynote speaker. Now, Vernon Jordan, keynote speaker, his speech was on how they got to stop the freakness. Now, we know that the BOULE don't make no decision. Them a bunch of damn, the yes man, the white man's niggas. They don't make no decision. If the white man approves of the freakness, they're glad to do it. Anything the white man down with, they down, oh, that's just another Fort Lauderdale. They don't care. You see what I'm saying? It is the white man's nigga. Well, why is Vernon Jordan talking about it? Who is Vernon Jordan? Vernon Jordan is the right-hand man to Bill Clinton, who is Froling Key and Skull and Bones and the whole Illuminati. So that means that Vernon Jordan is giving an order that's coming down the tube from the big boys in Washington, D.C. And he's giving it to the Negroes that do the master's bidding and carry the stuff out of these cities. So he comes in and tells them, look, we're stopping Freaknik this year. That's what the white man done told me to do. Bill Clinton, Newt Gingrich, and all of the boys down there in the Illuminati. Because there ain't no such thing as no government. It's a one-world government. They said stop the Freaknik. Then all of a sudden, Bill Campbell, he's declaring war on Freaknik. Out of the blue. Need the money. But he declaring war. Well, wait a minute now. Hold on. Didn't they just pass a bill to say that public enemy number one was any gangs? Is not a public enemy number one? Well, what constitutes a gang? Anybody congregate, more than 5 people congregating in a place at one particular time. Can you imagine? The first thing they said was, number one, they closed down all the parks. Now that means you got thousands of black kids coming from all over the country with money and ain't got no place to go. Well, if you are congregating in a city with no designated place of destination, that is constituted as what? Lottery. And anything over than 2 or 3 people is a gang. Public, and you are now what? Public enemy number one. Well, let's get a little funky. Number one, they said anybody caught with alcohol is going to jail. Well, the white man ain't gonna close down no alcohol store. If they sold out a beer in Atlanta in 2 days, and it's what's called, doggone well, the white man gonna sell his beer. Plus, if anybody ever went to see these parties, the brothers come with trunk loads full of beer and liquor. They come with the stuff. So they say anybody caught with liquor is going to jail. Well, yeah, the niggas gonna be drunk before they even roll into town, before they get on the highway. You see, before they get on I-95, I-20. You see, they're going to be drunk before they come. That's college students. That's what you do. You go to school and you acquire a taste for alcohol. Or either you go to the army and you acquire a taste for alcohol. You see what I'm saying? Well, the Freaknik is bigger than that because it ain't just college students. Everybody gets down with it. They got people, hundreds of people coming up from Miami, from all over. So now the thing is all black people getting down with it. Because it's big now. We going to Freaknik. But they ain't got no designated place to go because they're closing all the parts. So that means that you got the National Guard and all them coming in. You see? Now, it's interesting. Now, I wouldn't be just reading some stuff, but see, the Spirit always does some stuff. I had a woman call me last year crying on the phone. She was a psychic, but she's an expert on astrology. Based on her calculation, she said something awful was going to happen to the freak, at the freak. And she was crying. She went out of town, but nothing awful happened. But see, sometimes, based on the cycle, because the white man got the time all messed up, it can be a year off. And she gave me the actual reading a year before. You see what I'm saying? Now, we know that they got to do all this stuff, but they got to crack down, they got to crack down, need some water. She is not dead, she's just only begun to live. This is death. The other part that you think of as death is actually life. You see what I'm saying? This is the death realm. This is the realm of the dead. which we'll try to explain to you. Whenever you hear the Book of the Dead and you talk about the dead, it's not necessarily talking about the dead that is passed on, because those are the glorified spirits that actually live. The dead that they're talking about is down here on earth, the people that fell into a dead state and lost all senses of the Godhead. That's the real death. You got it wrong. You see what I'm saying? So to wake up every morning is not, and I repeat, and we can debate on this, to wake up every morning is not necessarily a blessing. That's right. To wake up every morning is not necessarily a blessing. You see, somewhere around 2,000 years ago, this thing got changed around. The whole key to our mysticism and our mystery was to get back to the higher realms. Remember, they talk about a man that fell to the fallen realm. So to wake up when you have fallen from grace and glory is not necessarily so positive. That's called fundamentalism and moralism that have nothing necessarily to do with spirituality. The last 2,000 years we have been dealing with fundamentalism and moralism that has something to do with a social religion is based on economic, political, mundane, and social reason, but not necessarily real spirituality. We want to address these problems because I think this is a critical point that we turn everything around. Now, I first started out and I gave some of you this Christ ritual. Now, let me explain this to you. First of all, the Christ ritual, I explained that a brother had to go to court and he couldn't find out what to do, but he remembered getting this ritual from me a couple of months ago. And he ended up doing this when he went to court. They ended up being in favor of him, and the white woman that was battling against him, they almost locked her behind him. Now, what is actually happening here? It means, is it not written in your law to yield gods, which means that you are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Whenever you do these particular things, you are only empowering the energy within yourself, the God force which is in yourself. Now, even when you pour libations, you are only empowering the God force that's in yourself. Because the ancestors, not only when they go to the celestial realm, they live inside of you. That's why sometimes when you are going through some things, sometimes you might hear a person might tell you, don't do this. And you say, well, damn, and it might not necessarily be your higher self or the guardian angel, it could be your mother telling you. You say, well, one of my ancestors came to me and told me not to do that. That means inside of you is a whole universe that exists, all of us. So when you pour the libations, you're not only giving blessings to the ancestors, you are also empowering yourself. That's the key. That's the real key. Because they exist inside of you. We live in a multi-dimensional universe, and you got to understand the concept of how the universe works other than what is the basic conventional way that has been taught. You understand what I'm saying? And so one of the key things, well, right here? Okay. One of the key things is to get out of these fears. You are now in God's school. The other people, that's the masses of people, are depending on you. You are the Godhead, and you are going to be the ones that's going to get our people out of this mess. Not nobody from the skies, because the ones coming from the skies are coming in you and through you, and you will be a part of that particular Godhead. The ones that get your people out of this mess. So you got to start thinking of yourself as more advanced beings than just waiting on something good to happen to you, because you are the ones that make that happen. So make that happen. So that's why the Christ ritual was to actually enhance the Godhead inside of you. Now, this Christ ritual was taken from the teachings of the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah was introduced to the European Jews in Spain by a Moor by the name of Moses de Leon. That introduced, anytime you start reading the Kabbalah, they'll talk about it was an oral tradition, then it was introduced in Spain. Anytime you hear anything introduced in Spain, you know who that was. That was the Moors. You understand what I'm saying? So it was introduced to the European Jews, which, came about in Spain. It had nothing to do with the original Hebrews, but this is the original Hebrew material. This is one of the A.E. Waite's Holy Kabbalah, which I recommend highly. A.E. Waite's Holy Kabbalah, which I recommend very highly. And it was introduced into Spain by them. Now, the key is you got two sets of Jews. You got some that just basically study the Torah and the basic laws of Moses and that whole 9 yards, which is the first part of the New Testament, which is, you know, your Old Testament. Then you have a crew that studies what is called esoteric Judaism. And that's your Bible with your Jews, or what you call them. Which we was laughing at the little people in the black, look at them and all. And you didn't know the whole time they were studying the esoteric doctrines. Go back and rent the movie, A Stranger Among Us. In the movie A Stranger Among Us with Melanie Griffith, you know, she had to go and live amongst them to find out about a murder. And when she went in this room and they was all sitting down and they were studying. And he said, yeah, oh, you didn't know, we studied 13 hours a day. We studied the Kabbalah. And he kept quoting the Kabbalah, saying that the woman is the most feminine thing, the feminine spirit, and the woman is the most highest level in the universe. Now let's break this down. Because we know that one of the most sexist doctrines in the world came about what is called the Judeo-Christian religion, where the woman is only, if she's not a hoe, she's just some side bed wench to some great patriarch. That is what it's called. Now let me break this down again. And I have to, see, if I sound redundant, that's because we're getting to what is called the common denominator. It's not just coming and throwing out a whole lot of knowledge and you don't know where to draw from. You understand what I'm saying? As you grow, things are supposed to be simplified. It's not that hard. You understand what I'm saying? So because I have grown in my consciousness, things are a lot more simple. So let me explain what I'm talking about here. And I always quote this, and it's a good thing to start off. And this is the point which we're supposed to be dealing with right now. And we're supposed to be dealing with the esoteric doctrines. If you're going to deal with the esoteric doctrines, and I always say this, the esoteric doctrines to Christianity is Gnosticism. The esoteric doctrines to Judaism is Kabbalistic, Kabbalah. The esoteric doctrines to Islam is Sufism. You see what I'm saying? It's Sufism. Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught a version of Sufism. That's why it sounds different than the regular basic Orthodox Islam, because it's higher than the basic Orthodox Islam. This is what the Prophet Muhammad's father was into, a Cushite Arab. You understand what I'm saying? So we're dealing here with the esoteric doctrines, which is that which is hidden, the advanced thing. The other thing is given to the average person, just to keep them in line. And basically, the other doctrines, as far as your exoteric. Now, the exoteric is the one that everybody hit: the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, you know, the Old Testament. Those, once you get a certain level, those should also be null and void to you. Although you can go back in there and pick up the keys, because you will find out that one was taken from the other. You understand where I'm coming from? Anybody got any questions on this? There's two realms of what we're dealing with here. Now, in the esoteric Kabbalah, we're dealing with this particular time. We'll take different subjects, but we're dealing with the Kabbalah in the next 2 days. In the esoteric Kabbalah, the highest realm of spirituality is the feminine principle. Now, all of a sudden, that sounds more like that these particular people were Egyptians. Because we know that the highest essence of the Kamite was the feminine principle. It's called the Shekinah. In Egypt, it's called the Shechem. The feminine principle. You can't get to the higher realm until you go through the feminine principle. Now, dealing with this, and when we go into this today, because we're going to be dealing with this next 2 days, we're talking about the esoteric doctrines. Now, dealing with this particular paper is talking about going to the Christhood, and these particular divine names are inside of you. Now, they are inside of you. I want to clarify that now, because this is very key that we understand at this particular time. Now, the sister asked a question, which I'll lead off on. She said, well, why is this stuff coming to us now? Is that what you're saying? Why are you getting these bits and pieces and stuff coming to you now? That's what you're saying? No, explain to me, because I want to get it right. I want to answer your question first.
Yeah, you know, in a way, it's, I'm not angry at it, you know, but I do ask myself the question, you know, all of a sudden we just being bombarded with all this information.
Okay, right.
You know, it's like now.
Right. Okay. It is a prophecy. Here's a book I want you to write down. This guy is A.T. Mann. Now, in this book, it's called Millennium Prophecies and Predictions for the Year 2000, which is probably the best book on prophecies. Because this particular person took every prophecy they could find and they put it in one book.
That's not... Is that like Nostradamus?
You know Nostradamus, but he deals with Nostradamus, everybody. This is AT man. Now in here, I'm going to show you something. In here, it's interesting you say that because that's the way the Spirit works. I'll ask the question that I was pondering on the last couple of days. Listen to this. It says, I want to get the, it says, I think it's 1990. 1990. There was a woman by the name of Alice Bailey who had a prophecy. In 1990, this is the prophecy. Alice Bailey first got her prophecy. I think they came, whatever this particular entity that came to her was in the late 1800s. Now, it was in the late 1800s when she got the prophecy. Let me see if I can find the right one. The late 1800s. Yes, 1895, Alice Bailey first channeled from the master Kutumi. Kutumi. That's nothing but another name for the god Horus. Rahirukahuti Kutumi. It's just a different phrase. Kutumi. She first channeled it. That was in 1895. In 1895, it gave her a prophecy, and it said in the 1990s. Look at this. In the 1990s, 1990, the teachings of Shambhala will be given to the Atlantic, or out to the Atlantic. Now, what does that mean? Shambhala is a mystical place. In India, Shambhala is Shambhala. In Egypt or Kemet, it's mental. In children and in teenagers, a certain energy. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes they say, they say what? Youth is wasted on the young. You know what I'm saying? But there's a certain energy and all that's just misplaced like crazy because they don't have no knowledge. So they end up running amok. But there's a certain energy in a young, but by the time a person starts getting into 35, going on into 40, there's a certain energy that burns out and the fears start coming. You start fearing a lot of things. And if you notice, there's certain people in a certain age group, you might be going in your 40s, 50s, 60s. You can't talk to everybody that went to high school with you. You understand what I'm saying? But you can look at those people and say, I know damn well 30 or 40 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, you would have been down. See where I'm coming from? Like my mother. There's a certain amount that she will accept. But I remember my mother, if this particular information came down in the 70s, she would be a goddess. You see what I'm saying? So it's a certain energy. So now what's happening here is this. That's why if you are doing it now, that means you are more advanced than what you think you are. You understand where I'm coming from? You're more advanced than what you think you are. The people in high school, they don't have no problem with it. It just so happens they don't have the knowledge. So too often they fall off the path. But one thing about some of them brothers and sisters in the high school, if you guide them the right way, they'll be down right off hand. So like one of the brothers came from the Nation of Islam in 1992 and was talking to some brothers from high school, and there was some brothers in college and brothers in high school, and every high school boy got up to sign up, ready to throw down. You see what I'm saying? But right when some of them was in college, they were a little reserved about certain things. Don't necessarily mean that they had to actually join, but I'm trying to show you the commitment of some of the younger people. But it's just the guidance is not there. Now, going back to what I'm saying, this particular information is being bombarded now, but it's only one key to it now. Now you can't give it away. You basically have to beat a nigga in the head to let him even listen to this kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? To get them to listen to this. So if you notice, things kind of still peter out. Years ago, we would have tore this particular information up, but it wasn't here. Now the information is here, and we can't find 2 or 3 people that really down with this particular stuff. So it kind of peters out, but now it is here for the ones that are supposed to receive it. And basically, you wrote a whole bunch of material before you went to sleep eons ago, so you can get this particular information when you start waking up. And now, because it's the end time, you need a certain amount of information now because you're waking up. Now, white people have had this particular information in their possessions for 140 years. But as a result, they understood one thing. Now, how did we actually get it? Because the prophecy said it would come in 1990. How did we actually get it? We actually got this particular information for one reason. White people had this particular stuff since the late 1800s. They found out somewhere around 1985, going into the 1990s, that this stuff was not helping them. They had accessed this knowledge, but they were not able to raise themselves up spiritually. They don't have one convert to Christhood whatsoever. See what I'm saying? Out of all this knowledge, now they done had 140 years to access this thing to raise themselves up higher, and they don't have one convert to Christ. You got a lot of people fronting. You understand what I'm saying? But a convert to Christ means that all of us are feeling it. Whoever gets to the higher realm. So obviously, we down here and the devil's still down here, so something's wrong. What's that, brothers?
How did they get the knowledge and where did they get it?
I'll explain that to you. Because it's very key that you're saying this. It's very key. That's why I'm starting more to listen more and more to question and answer. Because the Spirit comes and your question is actually an answer. So I'm going to go into that in 1 minute. They got this knowledge. They found out around 1985 and they said, listen, we haven't been able to do anything with this stuff. We need to put this stuff out to the masses. So we can get some fresh young minds of white people that might be able to tap into this. But also we'll put this stuff out to get some particular information. So because the black people have melanin, when they tap into it, we can spy and get it in, get the right information anyway. Now what happened? What happened was, is when we found out that we were falling, we started writing this particular information down for 300 or 400, 500 years, 5,000 years. We wrote this information and we cataloged this particular information. Some of it got burned up and it didn't matter because you can't destroy knowledge. Then somewhere in the process of 2,000 years up to the time of the fall of Spain, we literally gave the knowledge to white people so they can be the custodians, thinking that they're doing this, getting this knowledge for themselves. They would actually save the knowledge and preserve the knowledge for us. So the New Age movement is not for white people to advance. They think they're doing it for themselves. As a result, they have preserved the particular information for us. And now we are able to get it because we knew after coming out of slavery, we wasn't going to print no books. We just now started to read. You understand what I'm saying? Plus, we don't have the money. Plus, we're not just talking about the basic black experience that come with Afrocentric knowledge. We're talking about knowledge that has to come from all over the world. So the white man, being the great conqueror that he is able to steal everything from around the world and put it in one library. And as a result, you get these Llewellyn publications, Samuel Weiser publications, and indirectly, inadvertently, they're giving the knowledge to us thinking that it's a new age for them. So now when we started waking up, we just go to a bookstore and get it. But we don't need the masses of the people to do it. We only need who we got right now. Because the masses of the people ain't never did but one thing, what? Died. You see what I'm saying? We only need what we have right now for the whole masses. So it's almost like the Spirit is always guiding this stuff. Even when they think that they're doing something for themselves, they're doing stuff for us. You see what I'm saying? So now this particular knowledge is back because we systematically put it in their hands so we can get it at this particular time. And now we're at the golden age, but unlike the 60s, unlike the 30s, because you know we got the 30s that came around, you had a renaissance, then the 60s come around, you got a renaissance. You understand what I'm saying? Unlike that, or the late 1800s, you got a renaissance, you know, with your reconstruction. Unlike that, this is for keeps. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't going beyond where 20 years or 30 years down the road, we looking and saying, yeah, remember brother named Bobby Hemmitt was talking, you know, Brother Delbert Blair, or the whole Afrocentric thing that went down, Leonard Jeffries or Dr. Ben, and we'll be reminiscing on these fellas, just like we reminisced on Marcus Garvey and all the people out of the 30s, W.E.B. Du Bois. You understand? No, this ain't going down this way because this is the final stuff. Why? Because we got the completion of the knowledge. The first stage in the 30s was just basically a black identity, period. Then in the 1960s, it was just basically a black person getting themselves in a certain position. Then the first leg of the Afrocentric movement is where we actually permeated Kemet, Egypt, and went back to Africa in a certain thing that we started in the 60s. And now we're into the whole scheme of things because we done gone off the damn planet with this stuff. You see what I'm saying? UFOs, astro bodies, got the diet going on, disappearing, doing rituals, doing this type of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And it's going, but now it's here, but right at this particular time, because it ain't going beyond the particular time that we're dealing with right now. So people say, well, man, you've been saying that for the last 3, 4, 5 years. It's been over for the last 3 or 4, 5 years. You got to understand, if a house is on fire, you might not calculate the time when the actual wood might burn to the ashes, but you'll just know that the house is on fire. You understand where I'm coming from? So this is what we're dealing with at this particular time. We got to understand. We got to understand why you were here, but on the other hand, we got to understand that we got to stop looking outside of ourselves. Now, the first leg was to be humble. And humility is, it's supposed to be, you don't supposed to ask yourself the question, was I humble? It's supposed to be just natural. The next thing is to get to a particular point where you start taking